The unexpected delay. KeanuReeves sat quietly in the VIP lounge of a small airport. It was late evening, and he was waiting for a connecting flight that would take him to an important film festival. Overseas, he had a full day ahead, meetings lined up, fans waiting, and his team had made all the arrangements months in advance. But in that moment, Keanu's mind was somewhere else. He was watching people, the way he always did, searching for little moments of life that made him feel grounded. He noticed a frail old woman sitting alone near the window. She had a small, battered suitcase at her feet and was struggling to hold a cup of tea with trembling hands. Every few seconds, she looked around, her eyes clouded with worry and confusion. Keanu felt something in his chest tighten. He had grown up watching his own mother struggle, and he knew the look of someone who felt completely alone in a place full of people. He looked back at his manager, who was buried in his phone, sending last-minute messages to the festival team. The manager didn't notice anything, didn't care to look up. Keanu stood up and walked over to the old woman. He knelt down so he wouldn't tower over her. "Ma'am, do you need any help?" he asked softly. His voice was so gentle that, for a second, the old woman didn't even react. Then she looked at him, blinking, trying to focus. "Oh dear, I don't know what gate I should be at," she said, her voice thin like paper. They changed it again. "I get so confused. My son said he would meet me at the other airport, but I can't even find where I'm supposed to go." Keanu smiled. He took her ticket and read it carefully. The gate number had indeed changed 3 times in the last hour because of weather delays. He looked at the departure board. Her flight was now boarding on the other side of the terminal. The distance was too much for her to walk alone with her cane and old suitcase. "Don't worry, I'll help you get there," he said. He held out his hand, and she took it, her fingers cold and shaky. As they began walking, Keanu carried her bag. They moved slowly, step by step, through the busy terminal filled with announcements and tired travelers. Some people looked at them, some recognized him and whispered, "Is that Keanu Reeves?" But he didn't care. When they reached the gate, there was another problem. The airline staff said they needed her to fill out a form because of some medical note in her booking. The old woman didn't understand what they wanted. She started to panic, tears filling her eyes. Keanu put an arm around her shoulder and spoke firmly to the staff, asking for a supervisor. He stayed calm, patient, respectful, but he made sure they understood she would not be left behind. He sat with her as she filled the form, helping her spell out the letters slowly. She told him about her son, about how she had not seen him for 5 years. She talked about her late husband, how he always took care of the travel plans when he was alive. Now she felt so small in this big world. Keanu listened to every word, like it was the most important story he'd ever heard. Finally, the boarding started. The old woman looked up at Keanu, her eyes bright with gratitude. "Thank you, dear. You are my angel today," she said, her voice trembling. He squeezed her hand and smiled. "Safe travels. Your son is going to be so happy to see you." Just then, he heard his own name on the announcement. His connecting flight was boarding too, at the other side of the airport. He looked at his watch and realized there was no way he'd make it in time. His manager came running, out of breath, shouting, "Keanu, we have to go. You're going to miss your flight. The festival, the press, everything depends on you being there." Keanu looked at the old woman, then back at the boarding gate for his flight. The manager's words echoed in his mind. He took a deep breath. "Go without me," Keanu said softly. "Rebook me for the next flight. I'm not leaving her side until she's on that plane." The manager stared at him, shocked. "But you're going to miss your big speech, the award ceremony." Keanu cut him off with a calm, steady look. "Some things are more important." As the old woman stepped onto the jet bridge, she turned back one last time. Keanu waved at her, his eyes warm and full of kindness. In that moment, the old woman felt like she wasn't invisible anymore. She felt seen, cared for, and safe. Keanu missed his flight that night, but what he gained would touch more lives than he could ever imagine. And what happened next would shock the world in ways no one could have predicted. The world starts to notice when the old woman's plane finally took off. Keanu stood alone near the empty gate. He looked out the large window, watching the blinking lights of the aircraft as it rose into the dark sky. He felt an odd mix of sadness and warmth in his chest. He knew he had missed something big for his career, but his heart told him he had done the right thing. His manager, Greg, was pacing nearby, angry and stressed. He kept talking on the phone, explaining to the festival organizers that Keanu would not make it that night. There were reporters waiting, fans lined up, and the organizers were furious. Greg hung up and faced Keanu. "Do you realize what you've done?" Greg said, almost shouting. "They might cancel your entire segment. They might not even give you the award. This is a huge embarrassment. You'll lose millions in contracts." Keanu just shrugged, calm. "She needed help, Greg. She had no one else. You know how my mother used to travel when she got sick? I promised myself if I ever saw someone like her, I'd help, no matter what." Greg shook his head. Defeated, he couldn't understand why someone so famous, so busy, would throw away such an important opportunity for a stranger. He walked off to fix the flights and hotel stay. Keanu sat back down in the lounge. He closed his eyes for a moment, but then he heard a small voice near him. It was a young woman, maybe 25, holding a phone. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. "Excuse me, Mr. Reeves," she said nervously. I saw what you did for that old lady. I filmed it. I hope that's okay. I wanted people to see how kind you are. I uploaded it on social media a few minutes ago, and well, you should look." Keanu opened his eyes, surprised. He took her phone and saw a video already getting thousands of likes. It showed him helping the old woman with her suitcase, talking to her patiently, staying behind while everyone else was rushing for their own flights. The comments were pouring in. "What a real hero. Keanu Reeves is truly a good soul. He missed his flight for a stranger. Incredible." Keanu smiled and handed the phone back. "It's okay," he said gently. "Thank you for caring enough to share it. Maybe someone will help another person because they saw this." The young woman's eyes filled with tears. "You don't know what this means to me. My grandma used to get lost in airports too. Seeing you do this, I wish more people were like you." As she walked away, Keanu's manager came back, more frustrated than ever. "They rescheduled you for tomorrow afternoon. You'll still miss the morning events, but maybe they'll let you give your speech later. We'll see." Keanu nodded, but deep down he didn't care about the missed event as much anymore. He checked his own phone. The video was spreading fast. Within an hour, it had reached millions of views. People all over the world were commenting, sharing their own stories of helping or being helped by strangers. By midnight, news outlets started calling his agent. They wanted statements, interviews. They called it the act of kindness that made the world stop and watch. People loved it because it was so rare to see a celebrity choose a human moment over fame and money. As the night grew deeper, Keanu sat alone in his hotel room. He ordered simple takeout food, soup and bread. He thought about his mother again, about the time she used to tell him, "Do good quietly. The world will notice when it needs to." Little did he know that this small moment at the airport was about to open doors he never expected. Doors that would test his kindness, shake his beliefs, and reveal secrets that would change his life forever. Some people would be inspired by him. Others would try to use his name for their own gain. And somewhere, someone very powerful had already made a plan because they saw a man who would choose compassion over convenience, and they wondered how they could break him. Kindness under attack. The next morning, Keanu's simple act of kindness had become a worldwide headline. Reporters camped outside his hotel, waiting to catch a glimpse of him. People online called him a living angel. Some called him the last real gentleman in Hollywood. Keanu looked out his window at the busy street below. He felt uneasy. He never liked being praised for doing what he believed was normal. Helping others should be normal. He thought about calling his mother's old friend, a retired nurse who always told him, "They will lift you up today, but tomorrow they will look for ways to pull you down. Stay humble, but stay careful too." His phone rang again. This time it was Greg, his manager. Greg's voice sounded strange. like he had news he didn't want to share. "Keanu, we have a problem." Greg said, "There's a news channel running a story claiming you staged the whole thing. They say you planned the video to make yourself look good. They're interviewing someone who says the old woman was an actress. They want to paint you as fake." Keanu sighed deeply. He felt a knot in his stomach. He knew it was only a matter of time before someone tried to twist the story. "Where's the old woman now?" he asked. Greg hesitated. "We don't know yet. No one has found her. Her son hasn't spoken publicly. People online are already saying it's suspicious." Keanu put on his jacket and grabbed his backpack. "I'm going to find her," he said. "What?" Greg's voice rose in panic. "Keanu, please, the press is waiting outside. You're supposed to go to the festival speech we fought so hard to reschedule. You can't just run around the city. Watch me," Keanu said softly. He stepped out of the hotel's side door. To avoid the reporters, he called a cab and asked the driver to take him back to the airport. On the long ride back, memories flooded his mind, moments with his mother, watching her struggle to explain herself in busy places. He thought of that old woman's tired eyes, the way her hand trembled when she held the tea. She was real, her fear was real, and now she was being called a lie. Keanu arrived at the airport and found the gate where they had sat the night before. He talked to a few airport staff members. Most didn't know anything, but one young employee remembered him clearly. "Oh yeah, sir. I remember you," she said shyly. "That lady, she was so sweet. I think her son works at a grocery store near the East Terminal. He was supposed to pick her up. Maybe you could find him there." Keanu thanked her and walked out into the summer heat. He didn't care about the cameras that followed him now. He walked block after block until he found the small grocery store. It looked old and worn. The sign faded. Inside, a tired man in his 40s was stocking shelves when he saw Keanu. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Mr. Reeves, you came here." Keanu nodded and shook his hand. "I'm looking for your mother. I want to make sure she's safe, and I want people to know the truth." The man's shoulders dropped, and tears welled up in his eyes. "She's fine. She's home resting. She told me what you did. I don't care what they say. You gave her hope that night. My father died years ago, and I couldn't always be there for her. You stepped in when I failed. Please come, meet her again." They drove together to a small house at the edge of town. The old woman sat on the porch, wrapped in a warm blanket even though the sun was bright. When she saw Keanu, her eyes lit up. She held out her hands, and he knelt beside her. "Oh, my dear boy, I heard what they're saying," she whispered. "Don't you let them change your heart. You were my angel that night." Keanu felt tears sting his eyes. He knew right then he would fight for the truth, not for fame, not for the fans, but for people like her, people who needed the world to believe in small acts of kindness again. But somewhere, someone watched this moment from a distance, a powerful man in a dark office. He turned to his assistant and said, "He's making people believe in him. Too much. Make sure he regrets this." A new storm was about to hit Keanu's life, one he could not stop with a simple smile. The storm grows stronger. Keanu sat with the old woman and her son for hours that afternoon. They shared tea in shipped cups. They talked about small things, old stories, favorite foods, memories of people they missed. The world outside felt distant for a while. Keanu's heart felt light. He almost forgot the noise waiting for him beyond that little porch. When he finally stood up to leave, the old woman pressed something into his hand, an old photograph of her husband, taken at an airport many years ago. She whispered, "My husband once missed a flight too. He stayed behind to help a lost child. Maybe this is how the world goes round, good deeds finding good souls." Keanu promised her he would protect her truth, but as he walked back to the car with her son, his phone buzzed again and again. More messages, more missed calls, all from Greg and the studio bosses. They were furious. He answered finally. Greg's voice was tense, almost cold. "Keanu, where have you been? The news is exploding. Now they're saying you paid the airport staff to play along with your act. They're digging into your past. They want dirt. They're saying you've been pretending to be humble all these years." Keanu leaned against the car, closing his eyes. Is there anything we can do? I don't know. Greg snapped. Some powerful people are behind this. They're trying to break your image because they think you're a threat to their money. The festival director just told me they might cut ties with you altogether. Keanu felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Let them do what they want. The truth is the truth. But the world didn't care about truth as much as it cared about noise. When Keanu returned to his hotel that night, reporters were yelling questions at him. Did you fake it? Was she an actress? Did you pay her? He didn't answer. He went straight inside, in the quiet of his room. He opened his laptop and saw video after video tearing him apart. Some were old clips twisted out of context. Some were fake headlines made to look real. Strangers he'd never met claimed they'd been tricked by his kindness. Keanu single quotes S mind spun. He thought about calling a lawyer, but then he remembered the old woman's soft words. Don't let them change your heart. He knew he had to fight this with honesty, not anger. Then an unexpected message came in from a young journalist named Maya. She had been following the story since the beginning. She wrote, I have proof the old woman is real. I found security footage. Meet me at the old terminal parking lot, midnight. We need to talk in person. Too risky online. Keanu stared at the message. It felt like hope, but also danger. Greg begged him not to go alone, but Keanu knew he couldn't stay silent. That night, he wore a plain hoodie and slipped out through the back entrance. He found Maya waiting under a flickering streetlight. She looked nervous but determined. She handed him a USB drive. This has raw footage from 3 airport cameras. It shows everything. You helping her, talking to staff, missing your flight. No hidden deals. No fake scenes. This will clear your name. Keanu felt a spark of relief. Why help me? Maya looked at him, her eyes tired but strong. Because people like you make the world less lonely, and I won't let the powerful bury that. Just as they were about to leave, headlights cut through the darkness. A black car pulled up fast. 2 men stepped out, dressed in suits, their faces hard as stone. One of them spoke sharply, Mr. Reeves, come with us, now. Maya grabbed Keanu's arm, whispering, don't, this isn't safe. Keanu stood his ground. Who are you? The taller man smiled coldly. Friends who want to help you stay quiet. Hand over the drive. Keanu clenched his fist. He realized this wasn't just about a missed flight anymore. Someone out there was terrified of a simple truth. That kindness, when real, could not be bought or buried. The wind blew hard in that empty parking lot. Keanu knew then he would not back down, no matter what they did next. The price of truth. 2 men stepped closer, their shadows stretching long under the parking lot's flickering lights. Maya held the USB drive tight in her fist, her breath quick and shaky. Keanu stood slightly in front of her, like a quiet shield. The taller man repeated, hand over the drive. No one wants this to get messy. You don't understand who you're dealing with. Keanu's eyes were steady, his voice calm but firm. I understand enough. You wanted to hide what really happened, but I'm not giving you anything. The man's smile faded. He nodded to the other one. Before Maya could react, the second man lunged at her. He grabbed her wrist, trying to snatch the drive. Maya cried out, but Keanu stepped in fast, pushing the man back. Keanu wasn't a fighter by choice, but he knew how to stand his ground. The men were bigger, but they didn't expect him to resist. A short struggle followed, scuffling feet, the sharp echo of fists hitting shoulders. Maya stumbled back, clutching the drive to her chest like it was a piece of her soul. Finally, the men gave up. They backed off, breathing hard. The taller one leaned in close to Keanu's ear and hissed, you think this will make you a hero? They will ruin you. They will dig until there's nothing left. Remember that. They slipped back into the black car and sped away, tires screeching into the night. Silence fell again, broken only by Maya's ragged breathing. Keanu turned to her, his hands still trembling a little. Are you okay? Maya nodded, wiping tears from her eyes. I'm fine, but we can't stay here. They'll come back. They ran back to Maya's old car. Inside, she started the engine, her fingers shaking on the wheel. Keanu looked out the window at the empty lot. He knew now that this was bigger than just an old woman's flight. Someone powerful wanted the world to believe kindness was a lie. Because if people believed in true goodness, they might start questioning all the lies they'd been fed for years. Maya dropped Keanu off at his hotel just before dawn. They agreed she would upload the footage herself. It was too risky to trust anyone else. Inside his room, Keanu sat on the edge of his bed. He didn't even turn on the light. He thought about the old woman, her fragile hands wrapped around that cup of tea. He thought about his mother, the way she always told him, truth is not loud, but it is strong. A few hours later, Maya's video hit the internet. It showed everything: the raw security footage, the real old woman, the real confusion at the gate, the moment Keanu missed his flight. Within minutes, millions of people were watching. Some wept openly. Some felt shame for doubting him. Hashtags exploded across social media. Hashtag KeanuReeves trended in dozens of countries. But as the world cheered him, the people who tried to bury his truth panicked. Nasty rumors poured out faster than ever. An old co-star came forward, paid to lie about him being fake nice. A big company dropped him from a deal, claiming he was too much of a distraction. Greg, his loyal manager, called every hour with new problems. They're hitting us from all sides. Greg said, exhausted, they want you to apologize for causing a scene. Can you believe that? They want you to say you overreacted at the airport, that you misunderstood the old woman. Maybe if you bow your head, they'll stop. Keanu looked at him, calm but strong. I won't. I missed my flight because I chose a person over a schedule. I'll never be sorry for that. In that moment, Greg realized something. Fame had never owned Keanu. Money didn't chain him. He was free in a way the powerful would never understand, and that scared them. But the attacks kept coming. Journalists camped outside his house. Hateful comments slipped into the flood of love online. One night, someone spray-painted fake hero across his front gate. Keanu stood there, staring at the ugly red letters. Instead of anger, he felt something deeper, a quiet promise to himself that no threat, no lie, no smear would make him regret helping an old woman find her way home. What he didn't know was that an even bigger twist was waiting, a final test that would show the world what real resilience looked like. When kindness becomes unstoppable, hate kept coming. Every day felt like walking through a storm. But even in the middle of the chaos, Keanu stayed gentle. He smiled at the security guards who watched his house. He signed autographs for fans who waited in the rain outside his gate. He even forgave the neighbor who once spread rumors about him to get a little money from the tabloids. But deep inside, the worry grew. Greg begged him again. Keanu, just say sorry, even if you're not. Just do it for your career. One statement, one interview. You can spin this. They'll leave you alone. Keanu looked at Greg with soft eyes. And then what? Next time someone needs help, do I look away because I'm scared they'll ruin me again? I won't be that man. Maya's video kept going viral. People from all over the world began sending messages. Mothers who remembered traveling alone thanked him. Strangers sent letters with stories of times they wished someone like Keanu had been there. He read each letter in his small kitchen at night, the words lighting a fire in his chest. Then, something unexpected happened. A new video appeared online. It was the old woman's son. He sat in their modest living room, the same place Keanu had visited. With him was his mother, the same fragile lady with the warm eyes. They spoke to the camera together. The son's voice cracked as he said, "My mother is not an actress. We are simple people. We had no idea who he was until people told us later. I want the world to know. He is real. His kindness is real." The old woman leaned forward, her hands shaking, but her eyes strong. "When I was lost, he found me. When I was scared, he calmed me. When I needed hope, he stayed. I am old. I have no reason to lie. If you believe in goodness, hold on to it. Don't let them take it from you." The video spread like wildfire. News channels that once ran nasty headlines started to backpedal. Some journalists apologized live. On air, celebrities, musicians, athletes, people who knew Keanu for years, started sharing their own stories about his quiet acts of kindness. One co-star posted, "He once bought lunch for my entire family when we had nothing. No cameras, no press. just Keanu being Keanu. But the most powerful moment came one rainy afternoon. A massive crowd gathered outside the festival that once dropped him. They carried handmade signs. Kindness is not fake. We stand with Keanu. Choose people over power. Thousands of ordinary people standing shoulder to shoulder, chanting his name. They wanted to show the world that they were tired of seeing good people torn apart for no reason. Keanu stood at the edge of the crowd, hidden under a hoodie. He watched them, his heart full. He didn't want a stage. He didn't want a mic. But people saw him anyway. They cheered. Some cried. They didn't see a superstar. They saw a man who reminded them of what it means to stand up for each other. Even when it's hard. Greg found him in the crowd, breathless. Do you see this? Do you understand what you've done? They didn't break you. They made you stronger. Keanu just smiled. No, Greg. They didn't make me stronger. She did, that old woman. And every person who still believes a simple act of kindness can change the world. In the weeks that followed, the smear campaign died out. The powerful men behind it lost their grip when they saw they couldn't scare him. The festival begged him to return. Keanu went, but he refused to walk the red carpet alone. He brought the old woman and her son as his special guests. Cameras flashed, but he didn't care about the flashes. He cared about the way her eyes lit up when the crowd cheered for her to dot as they stood together on that stage. Keanu leaned down and whispered in her ear, "You didn't just help me help you. You helped the world remember what matters." The old woman's eyes shone with quiet pride. She squeezed his hand, a tiny spark of courage in that giant room. Keanu didn't win every award that year. He didn't sign the biggest contracts. But what he gained was far more powerful. He showed millions that doing the right thing is worth every cost. And somewhere out there, in small ways, people began helping strangers again. An extra hand at an airport, a kind word on a hard day, all because one man missed a flight and decided people were more important than schedules.